Well, we talk about the breadth of graduate management courses available, and the first sessions today at the Centre Court Specialised Masters Festival. We've looked at management, we've looked at finance, and now we're turning our attention to business analytics. If you're the sort of person who loves the challenge of solving complex problems and using emerging technologies and data, then the MSBA could be the perfect program for you. And where better than at the business school that invented data-informed approaches to decision-making, the Tepper School at Carnegie Mellon. And I'm delighted to be joined by Carrie Calvario. Carrie has been at Tepper now for nearly a decade. She's the Director of Master's Admissions at Tepper. And Benjamin Cronin, a current student in the MSBA. He did his undergrad just down the road at the University of Pittsburgh. He had an outstanding GPA, very smart people in his classroom, some interesting finance internships at DHL, at the Fed Home Loan Bank. And here he is, of course, pursuing a career that's going to open up all sorts of opportunities. Perhaps, Carrie, thank you for both of you for being with us. Maybe we can just talk about Tepper and Carnegie Mellon, such a source of the intelligent future, as you love to describe it. Tell us about the school and what makes it so distinct.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. So this is my favorite topic to talk about. So in my 10 years at the Tepper School, and they've all been here at the Tepper School, I've been really fortunate enough to see a lot of the evolution of not only just physically where our space is and this Tepper Quad, which houses now our specialized master's programs, our flagship MBA, all of that is housed here in our Tepper Quad. But exactly like you said, Matt, so our dean, Isabel Baju, is really intentional of data-informed, human-driven. And I think that that's a really important feature here at the Tepper School is, for a place that really did kind of invent it, and we can get, tell those stories, but is the human aspect of it. And I think that that's what's really special is we have not lost focus of the need for ethics in AI and, all of these advancements. And you hear so many interesting, unique things coming from Carnegie Mellon, coming from the Tepper School to be at this place where our business analytics program is relatively young. We're in our fourth recruitment cycle for it, but business analytics itself has existed at Tepper for years and years and years. So it's kind of the home base of that. And so, to be that combination of the home of business analytics, but to have not lost sight of just the human side of it, that it is human driven, that the importance of ethical business decision making, ethics and AI, that's kind of incorporated. So I think that's one of the things that makes Tepper really special is that, we've been doing this. Our MBA has included this MS in business analytics, as a sister program to that MBA and to the types of curriculum offerings that we have. And then just really the human side of things too.
Right. You mentioned the full-time MBA, and of course, it's one of those other study options at the school and a great one. Where do you think that the MSBA fits? Who is it well suited for? If everyone has the GPA like Benjamin, it's a very smart intake that you have. And are there a particular background or skill sets that you like to see?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Tepper School by nature is a quantitative program. Our MBA is more quantitative in nature. Certainly, any business analytics degree would be. And so I think by nature, it's folks who have more of an inclination or an aptitude towards an analytical degree. And so folks who have seen, not majors, not requirements, but folks who have seen or have an aptitude for a more technical degree, meaning have maybe seen some programming languages, have a familiarity with some advanced level math courses. By no means is it a requirement, and we can talk more, and at another webinar about just the application workshop. But I think it's that aptitude, but it's also a curiosity in it, and a curiosity of how can I use this to take the next step in my career? For our full-time business analytics program, it's oftentimes the first step in the career. The one of the key differentiators between a program like this and an MBA, or at least ours, is its pre-experience. And so the program itself, the full-time version, is designed for folks who are pre-experienced, pre-professional, where to use Ben as an example, just graduated. And it's kind of, you think of like that 4-1 model, 4 years in an undergrad, you do a 1-year specialized master's and really kind of get started on that career. So it's for folks who are more pre-experienced, pre-professional, but then also have that quantitative aptitude.
Right. Well, Ben, of course, you had studied your BBA and econ, finance, and other subjects. What was your thinking in terms of next steps? What led you to pursue the MSBA?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks again, Matt, and everybody who's joining the call. So it actually started out my freshman year at Pitt. I originally was a finance and business information systems double major, but I found out that I could graduate a year early if I dropped the BIS major. So I stuck with just finance, but I still wanted to have that analytical skill set that would be needed, especially now and going on in the future. And so I was looking at schools and I had a mentor who mentioned, what have you heard about the MSBA over at Carnegie Mellon? And I went and did some research, and luckily being down the street, I went and toured multiple times and had great connections, including with Carrie and the rest of the team. And I found that this was the place where I needed to be. And so it was an easy choice for me to for my fourth year to come and get the master's.
Well, I'm sure Kerry will confirm, a campus visit isn't required, but it was on your doorstep. They wouldn't have
Yeah.
forgiven you for not showing up. In terms of, the program itself, Kerry had talked about having that analytical mindset. So, the course, coding, algorithms, and just data. Tell us a little bit about the program and the way that it's designed.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Kerry mentioned, I'm one of those students who actually had no coding background previously. And so this was kind of a new and scary thing at first, but it's very welcoming nature, both with the courses. So for example, right now I'm taking machine learning, data structuring, and then in my first mini, I had taken programming in R and Python. And they are very elementary courses at first, but because of the fast-paced system, you learn very quickly, which is really something that I find interesting, but also really like because it allows you to grow quick, and that's something that we will experience in the real world whenever we graduate here in May.
Right. I mean, you talk about machine learning. These are areas of such fast-moving technology. Do you already have that sense of, how it's going to equip you, for the early stages of your career, but perhaps beyond even just the curiosity and the way that you then approach problem solving?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think I almost consider it close to economics, that type of thinking, right? Because, you see a problem, and now with machine learning courses, I'm able to use linear regression or use different type of models to make a prediction about what could happen. And that, like you said, can not only help me with business in the future, but also, my overall life to be able to judge certain things that are going on and make certain decisions that is both intelligent and data driven.
Right. Gary, you were saying, as an institution, you've been looking at data-informed, human-centric decisions for so many years, but then bringing it all together in the program. How do you ensure that it's anticipating the future? I mean, we talk about the intelligent future, but that's a big ask. So how do you think about the design of the program?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, Matt. And so I will say there are regular curriculum reviews. We're actually ongoing one right now, and those are pre-planned, regularly scheduled. They're not driven by any event or anything, but I think it's a lot of faculty interaction. And so, part of, the commitment with the Tepper leadership is, to bring in these students like Ben, but to also have them be supported by world-class faculty. And so to make sure that the resources that are available for faculty, for their own personal research, for interactions with our students, opportunities for our students to do research. And so I think the involvement that we have with these really, really exceptional faculty who are generally just curious themselves and have devoted their personal and their professional careers to, being curious about the future of analytics, especially now, especially in the last couple of years, with just this incredible boom of AI and machine learning and, generative, those sorts of things that, to have and to be able to, sustain faculty on staff, and then to also engage with them, from an admission standpoint of engaging with these faculty, asking if students can visit their classes, asking, I'm on a curriculum review with the faculty. And so driven by them of, okay, what trends are they seeing in their research? What trends are they seeing in their network? What are they teaching in their classes? I'm kind of just the one at the table taking notes and scribbling it down and soaking it in like a sponge, because these are these experts in this field who are, talk about predictive analytics, who are looking at not only just the next 2, 3 years of business, but what does 10 years look like? You
Mm.
can even go back to even, the start of this building, which, we're actually going to celebrate. It was a naming gift 20 years ago from David Tepper. But, over the 10 years that I've been here, the goal was to create a building, to create a physical space, and things have evolved in the last couple of years with, the world, but a physical space that could be that resource for students. Because, and what I mean by that is the collaborative nature of the building, to see the space, these collaborative workspaces, and so that students could be in line for coffee, and now there's an ice cream shop downstairs, but to be in line, Ben can be in line as an analytics student, but turn around and talk to a computer science student who just got out of class from across the street, but has made their way over to eat, to study, whatever. That was the design of this building too, to think forward to. Business can't just be siloed. We can't just be this kind of one trick pony where, we have these students that are just doing the most remarkable things. Let's create a space that encourages them to interact, so that then, to keep picking on Ben, but Ben strikes up a conversation with two students from outside Tepper. They can go not too far in our building, have some white space, and start kind of planning out a mod, things like that. Like, that was the intent of this building, to be this resource for students across Carnegie Mellon to come together. So it's faculty, it's the faculty support that we give, it's the, listening to them and the feedback for them, but it's also providing a physical space where all of that community can get together and start to share these ideas.
Right. If the ice cream is really good, Ben, of course, your timing has to be off so you can have these conversations while still enjoying.
It is excellent, Matt. It is
It
top
is.
notch.
What Carrie's describing, I saw you nodding your head. Are you mindful that, this business school is kind of a hub, and then the computer science lab, everything else that's going on at CMU that brings it all together?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as soon as you walk into the building, you immediately are hit with just an open space, and great views of not only the city, but of CMU as a whole. And you see so many diverse people talking about so many diverse things. Even now, like, I'm in a community space, and if I look out at the door right here, there's 100 people just sitting and talking and working on projects. And like Carrie said, that doesn't stop just within the business school or within the business majors. We have other people throughout the university that come over, and talk and interact with one another, and allow us to not only grow our networking and our communication skills, but also grow the CMU community and bring us all together as one.
To see so many people, deeply engaged in conversation, does that generate an energy for you, and the sense of, wow, we can solve these complex problems, and you sort of wake up each day thinking new challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely puts a drive in you for sure. You want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward in everything that you do, whether that's schoolwork or working on external projects with your friends. And you see other people working on great things. Specifically, the Schwartz Center for Entrepreneurship is also in the business school, and having that access just down the hall is fantastic, because if you generate an idea or have something, you can always go to so many different resources, and it provides.
Mm. I'd love to talk, Carrie, about the highly sought after graduates and the different career options, but even feedback maybe that you get from employers. As you said, the business school is not a silo. It's sort of pervious to all of these different fields of science and technology and advancement. Is that something that employers appreciate, the ability of the Tepper students to work across different disciplines and with different teams?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, thank you for that question. And, so we have a dedicated Master's Career Center. And so they are a group of professionals whom only work with our Tepper Master's students, but I think they collectively have something like a crazy amount of years of work experience, together, but they've all been in industry. And so they are a collective group of coaches and professionals. And so what they do, and leading into into the launch of this program several years ago, we collected data. We went out to recruiters, to employers with whom we had established relationships through the MBA, to our alumni network, and kind of surveyed and said, hey, this is the type of program we're thinking of launching. And it launched in an online format first, but still exists to this day. But we collected that feedback from them of, would you be interested in hiring a Tepper student who had a focus on specifically business analytics, likely is going to be a bit more pre-experienced than the MAs. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so they did that information gathering. Fast forward a couple years to actually launching the program. Now the Master's Career Center fully supports this whole suite of MS students, MBA students. Any employer or any recruiter who is interested in recruiting at Tepper has the opportunity to say, I'm interested in MBAs, I'm interested in MSBAs and MSPMs. They're provided a full resume book of all of those that they can say, okay, here's the needs that we have. Part of that comes from just the reputation of our graduates, of our alums who are at these companies who are doing these incredible things. A lot of alums come back as recruiters, but then it's just also the reputation of the university, of the school, of the curriculum, and to kind of keep establishing that, where employers who, 5, 6, 7 years ago were strictly MBA recruiters have now realized in these last couple of years, oh, I can also get this really specialized set of business analytics students who may down the road, I'm sure we may see Ben getting his MBA in the future. He'd certainly be an awesome candidate for that. But at this point in their career, they're going to be excellent, analysts, data analysts, and consulting. Some going, so I think it's a lot of that, but it starts with our Master's Career Center for sure.
Right. You'd had some interesting internships, Ben, and figured, the analytics piece to then explore that within the master's program. As you think about careers and the interaction with the Career Management Center, is it that the opportunities to explore, you've got this wonderful skill set, but how do you then work with that team to think about the right environment and where you're going to thrive and flourish?
Yeah, absolutely. The Master's Career Center, first off, has been such a great resource, and one of the best that I've had here so far. Specifically, last year, I had committed or just heard a decision committed by roughly January, February. And by May, I was already working with the Career Center to see how we can formulate a resume, but not only that, see how the skills could be developed. And so I think first and foremost, they meet with you and want to talk, okay, what are your interests? What skills do you think you have now, and what would you have at the end of this? And they kind of formulate that into okay, here's the action and game plan that we have for you for these certain industries. So specifically, I'm more geared towards the consulting side. And so how can we frame the business analytics and strategic mindsets into that of let's go network and recruit for those roles. And so by the time I was in July, even before we started, I was recruiting and interviewing for certain roles.
Is it tangible to carry? I mean, you see these great candidates on paper as they're applying to the program or on the screen, and then they show up, and then you watch them over the following year. Do you really see from the person that arrived at the program and then the maturity and reflection as they graduate?
It's the biggest privilege of my job, Matt. It is, and especially because we're so engaged earlier on too. Like I've known Ben for a year and a half, and maybe even longer. You came to, you were still a year away from applying. And so because we have this really personalized approach, and that's intentional, we are a smaller by design program. I think from MSBA standards, we're getting a little bit bigger, but because I've had that opportunity to even speak with them through the admission process, through the admissions interview, through coming to visit, whether folks can come to visit campus or not, like they've engaged with us so many times that, you get so excited to get them here. Then they arrive, you start to see, who is, kind of gravitating towards whom. And, we have this kind of unofficial handoff. We call it base camp, but it's our orientation, for our MSBA program. And I kind of stand up and tell a little bit about the class and about each other, and then the program director starts talking. And in my mind, it's this like kind of passing of the baton. Then I just get the privilege to work with these students in the capacity of student ambassadors, or, just kind of, being around campus, doing, getting, opportunities like this. Then, fast forward a quick, 7 months from now, it's graduation. And it's such a quick program, and that's by design, but to see the growth that happens both professionally, both just in goals, in general, and kind of where they head next, it's the greatest privilege of what I do.
Yeah. And as you pass over that baton, or even welcoming them, knowing what you do about the school, about the program, Do you have any words of advice in terms of, there are going to be so many options, but
Yes.
both in the classroom, fun outside of the classroom, and how they can get the most out of the experience?
Yeah, I always tell them start practicing not getting enough sleep ahead of time. But you're exactly right, Matt. I mean, the opportunities, and you've probably experienced this, Ben, are going to come so fast and so quick. Unlike Ben, a lot of folks are moving here for the first time,
Right.
pausing life, maybe moving in general for the first time, leaving home for the first time, because if you went to school close to home. So there's a lot of those firsts, but there's also, I want to be part of this community. The Tepper itself, I always say, if you get to campus, no matter which program you're enrolled in, if you get to campus and you're surprised at the tight-knit community, if you're surprised that folks want to, go hang out with you, then we haven't done our job in talking about just kind of the culture, the expectations of the program. And then you factor in the mini semesters, which are a quarter system. And that's by design, again, these faculty reviews, but life is going to move really quickly. I do always tell students is give yourself mini one, which just ended. So 2 weeks ago. So mini one runs from the very first day of classes till about mid-October. I always say, yes, you only have, 4 minis here, but give yourself one to kind of get the lay of the land, see what's happening. You're gonna, everybody kind of has the little stars in their eyes in mini one, but give yourself grace, give yourself space to have that time of, it's not going to pass you by. Opportunities are still going to be there in mini two, networking things, recruitment, but just going to have time with your friends. I always say, give yourself a mini to catch your breath as much as you can, and then jump in mini two.
Yeah, I saw you smile, Ben, when we talk about being sleep deprived. With Python, with all of the technical skills that you're developing so quickly, holding up a mirror to how you are then growing as a person. So even some of the intangible skills, maybe confidence, or are you mindful of the transition that you're experiencing?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember during our base camp or orientation, they said you're going to hit the ground running, and you're not going to realize that. And I took that for as a grain of salt. I was like, how bad could it be? But you really do hit the ground running. It's very fast paced just because of the quarter system. And at first it can be overwhelming, but you slowly get into your groove and finding how you can make things work. But not only that, like Carrie said, making the time to, enjoy yourself. You're only in this program for a year, and taking the time to hang out with friends and meet with people outside of just the classroom is a really great time. And that I think that's where it provides the growth, right? Of course, you're growing within your network and your recruitment process and skill set, but you're also growing your friendships. I have some of my closest friends now are in this program, that I met on day one, and without that, I would otherwise not have that. So
Yeah. As you know, Carrie, we have viewers from all over the world for Centre Court. And, our hope, of course, they get to meet people like you, that know the institution, know the personality and the support systems, finding not just the right program, but the right home, or to home from home. What advice do you have in terms of, based on their background, perhaps their passions and interests, their values even, to find the right program for them, and the MSBA in particular, on top of Tepper as an institution and its culture?
Yeah, I would say for anybody, but specifically that population, Matt, is to reach out to an admission officer, reach out to, don't worry about titles. Don't worry if it says director in front of their name or assistant director. Anybody that is working with that program is willing to help and wants to help. It's an added bonus if you get somebody, who's worked here for several years. I've lived in the city, in or near the city of Pittsburgh much of my life. And so, but, speaking specifically for Tepper, our MSBA program, we are very well aware on my team that we are working with a different population than, say, the MBA. We are working with a population that doesn't have 7-8 years of work experience, isn't really quite sure how to go about networking. Is a big one. How do I put myself out there? I'm used to I'm the smartest kid in the class. I work really hard. I'm going to get my A. But we try and be really intentional, we being admissions, of whether it be information sessions that we're hosting, whether it be one-on-one chats, whether through the admission process, to say, hey, yeah, that's really great. And we need you to have the academic aptitude to pass your classes, because it's not fair of us to bring you in here and not be confident you can succeed academically, but there's more to it than that. Let's tell you about the community. Let's have you meet different members of the community, whether virtual or we understand that not everybody can get here. So there's also an accessibility part of it, of making sure that we try and amplify our student voices, get folks like Ben on these sorts of things, get Ben, keep using him, but his classmates as well on Instagram, on these different platforms, time and time again, when we kind of survey our current students or survey folks, they say, I want to hear more from students. I love to talk about the program. I love to talk about Tepper, but I don't have my MSBA degree. And so I can talk and talk and talk with a lot of familiarity, but it's not the same as talking to somebody who's living it or has lived it. And so for us, it's getting that interested candidate, that prospective student connected with our community, whether that be through, okay, you can't travel thousands of miles, we get that. But here's what you can do. Check out our student ambassador site. Check out these virtual sessions that we're doing. They're super interactive. They're Ask Me Anything. So it's not just me talking to a screen, it's getting to engage. We would love it if you would come to campus. And oh, by the way, here's these specific events that you can come to. And here's what you're going to get. We're going to set you up with, current students for lunch. You're going to tour. And so it's kind of putting ourselves in those shoes of it's a daunting process. No matter which way you spin it, Matt, it is daunting to apply to any master's program, any graduate program. We also recognize with the prestige of Carnegie Mellon and with reputation, we celebrate that, but it's daunting sometimes.
Right.
And so for us in admissions, it's to say, let's peek behind the curtain a little bit. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what you can expect here. As much as we celebrate AI, talk to a person, come talk to, hear what we think, hear what our students think. So that's a really long answer, Matt, to say is we do try and personalize it as much as possible. We pride ourselves on just the kind of, I want even my MBA and MSBA interviews, which are evaluative interviews for the admission process. I want those candidates to leave feeling like they were talking with a friend who needed to learn some things about them and who needed to make sure that they were a good fit, but they should not leave my interview or any of my team's interviews feeling anything but, okay, that was good. I was comfortable there.
Yeah, I think it's a really helpful discussion because all too often, candidates can talk themselves out of those next. It's a big step. Ben, I mean, you were saying earlier you didn't code going into the school, and you might quickly have said, well, then this is not for me. So your words of encouragement in terms of, no, it is possible, and the way that the program then enables you to pick up those skills. So bringing down the barriers, what would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of reiterate what Carrie said. At first, I was definitely stressed out about that. I remember I asked a few past students, should I be worried about not having coding experience or so forth? But it's reaching out to those students and reaching out to the admissions team and realizing that this program is not, it's not a prerequisite, or doesn't have a prerequisite for coding. And so everything is starting off on the base level. Every professor that I've had is very open and says from the very beginning, hey, we don't expect you to know this. If you do know it, that's great. If you don't, here's how we're going to learn it. Here are some additional resources that you have. And so that was great to hear. But not only that, being, like Carrie said, reaching out to those students through admissions portals. Like I'm an admissions ambassador, so anybody could reach out to me. And just knowing that, there are resources available. It can be daunting at first, but you always have the availability to learn, and don't overwhelm yourself too much.
Right. But
And we
Ben is
said
going to
to folks
become.
too. Oh, I apologize, Matt. I was just going
No,
to
go
add
ahead, please.
to Ben. So from an admissions review standpoint, so we want folks to come in and have the tools to be successful. But again, no prereqs. But the admissions committee sometimes can say, hey, you might want to check out this open source free. You don't need to send us a transcript, but we also are looking under that scope as it is a technical program. And so we do have to have some realistic, conversations. But sometimes this is an otherwise awesome student. We think you're going to come in. We, really add value to the community. We think you should maybe spend the next 6 weeks or whatever, check out this Python course, check out this course. And so there's nothing to it. It's a self-pay, so we do have that opportunity as well, that if you've never seen it, but you've got a compelling story, but we also are really intentional in our application of, well, what have you seen? What have you
Mm.
been exposed to with we keep focusing on programming, but same with calc or differential equations, something like that. Maybe it's not, I took this class, I got this grade, but it's here's how I've seen it in an internship. Here's how I've done some modeling. Here's how I've done it with a research opportunity I had my junior year. And so there's a lot of open-ended questions within our application so that candidates can demonstrate that instead of just check a box. Have you had this class? Have you not had this class?
Right. I mean, these are skills, Ben, that are going to serve you so extraordinarily well, and not just for that first job out of Tepper, but for the years and years that follow. Perhaps someone that's thinking, well, how does this apply to healthcare, or the finance or global supply chain? I mean, do you already get that sense that what you're learning you could then take into any sector, any industry, any field?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's also a really great thing about the admissions process is they try to get as diverse as possible. So there's some people in my cohort that were biology majors, whereas I'm a finance, and I know some that were engineers. And so we have in these classes different application processes where, yeah, you can, let's say we could put this on a financial model, but go back and, maybe we could change this to put it in a healthcare um, model as well. And not only that, I know in many or the second semester, we are able to take electives that are a little bit more specialized. So I could take a finance analytics course, which I believe I'm hoping to take. So that way it can, actually formulate so how you want it to go. But not only that, if you talk to a professor and ask them, hey, how does this work? How can we interpret it a different way? They're fully welcoming and always want to help other students ensure that they're getting as much of the program as they can. And if they don't know something, they will make sure to point you in a direction uh, that that person will.
Right. And a sense of network carry, because of course the MSBA that's 4 or 5 years old now, but part of the wider Tepper and then the CMU networks that are spread across the country, across the world, and that's an invaluable network to then explore different career options.
Right, absolutely. And a really proud network as well. And so, our students, a question I've gotten over my time at Tepper has been, okay, well, you pride yourselves on these intentionally small programs. Yes. And doesn't that mean my alumni network is going to be smaller than XYZ? Sure, on paper, yes. But you have to think, okay, I've got, just like you just said, Matt, all of the kind of different layers, all the way up to just general Carnegie Mellon graduates. You have access to that alumni database, but just strike up a conversation, this person is a Carnegie Mellon graduate, this person is that, and it's just the pride that comes of that, of the alums that we have coming back, excited to recruit for their companies, excited to sponsor capstones, which is our experiential learning component in the second half of the program. The excitement that we see that's generated from it. We have a really awesome, alumni engagement office. And so, but yeah, it's a really proud network too.
Yeah. Ben, from the smile on your face, I can tell how much you're enjoying it. And I'm mindful that there's 100 people just talking over your right shoulder in the building. Um, you're in the program now. You thought about it, for the right choice for you. Anything surprising, even like a misconception of what you expected, the program might be like, or part of the wider CMU community, something that's really struck you? It's like, wow, I didn't expect that, and it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think being my undergrad being down the street, we had this conception that CMU is just in the books and they're solely focused on books. They don't know how to have fun. They don't know how to hang out with other people. And I think that's the total opposite, right? Being in Tepper, I interact with students and yeah, we are focused to get as much work done as possible, but it's a work hard, play hard, or yeah, yeah, that
In,
how
in either
it is.
direction,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
works.
But we know how to have fun. We like Carrie was saying, hang out with people and interact with new people every day is really, really interesting. And just to see the different cultures that are interacting, I believe we're 80% non-US citizens, which is just so unique to see that side of the cultures and interact with those people every day. So
Yeah. Okay, Kerry, you've touched on it, but perhaps one final question, because you're two wonderful ambassadors for the school, and I can imagine people watching and wanting to find out more. So you said, don't think about job titles, director, reach out to us. So what are concrete next steps to find out more about the MSBA?
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope I hear from every person who, is watching this. So we do have dedicated email addresses that are on our website. Let me just say first, Matt, our website. So our website will get you all of our contact information. I'm on LinkedIn. I know, I won't speak for Ben, but Ben's on LinkedIn too. But I think it's our website. On our website, there's a request for information form that will directly put you on our mailing list, and you'll get regular emails from us. I promise you, we try and be really thoughtful. We won't spam your inbox, but it'll be a lot of really, that's where we say, hey, there's an upcoming open house, or there's an upcoming application workshop, or an upcoming deadline. So getting on that mailing list. In addition to that, that's just kind of the high level. Is all of the admissions team profiles are on the website. Mine is, I work with 2 leads for our MSBA program, and then a third colleague who works with our specialized master's programs as well. We're all on the admissions website. It goes right to our email addresses. We answer them. We do have general inbox, and so which is monitored every single day. So it's at a high level, visit the website, check out anything, request information, get on that mailing list. But also, to get down further, is send us an email. Say, hey, I checked out your website. I spent a little bit of time on it. I watched the Poets and Quants webinar, but I still have some more questions. I'd love to talk with an admission officer. We'll say, great, what day works for you? And we'll get you plugged in, whether it's me, whether it's somebody on my team. So starting at the website is probably the easiest, aside from me like holding up a sign with our addresses, but all of it will get you in that next direction. But the email address is regularly responded to. And then we either say, hey, have you checked out these resources? Or yes, you have, and you still have questions. Well, let's get you connected with an admission officer.
And
Well, you
Matt,
both bring, yeah,
sorry,
please.
if it's okay, I add on. I like Carrie mentioned earlier, it may seem daunting to reach out to admissions at first, but I think, and that's one of the biggest recommendations I have for people who are applying to master's programs, is the admission team wants to get to know you. They want to see, how you'll fit in the program. But not only that, they want to get to know your personality and, what are your interests? What are your skill sets? And to show you the program. And so that's one of my biggest recommendations, to reach out to the admissions team or the admissions ambassadors, just to get a feel of what you think the program is versus what they think the program is, and kind of compare where that is. And I think it's really, really informative.
Well, even just the last
People,
40
right?
minutes
Yeah,
that we've
we're
been.
human. Everybody's human. Everybody wants to get to know, I think it's just kind of on that level. And so when, from the admission side of things, is we want to get to know our candidates. We want to get, then when they're students here. And so when you get requests that say, hey, let's do this webinar, do you have a current student? Your mind immediately goes to this list, and, Ben rises to the top. And there's also, 7, or actually 100, over 100, I was in last year's class, over 100 more that, to go to, and to be able to pull from that list of, oh yeah, I had that really great experience, or these are our student ambassadors. We had, student ambassadors. That's another great opportunity. We just kind of finished getting them all preloaded into the website. Those are hand raisers. They're not getting any money from admissions. They might get a jacket that says their name on it, but those are current student hand raisers who've said, I've enjoyed my experience. I understand the impact of having accessibility to these students. Sign me up. And so that'll probably be live on the website in the next couple weeks too.
Great. Well, just the energy and the passion that you brought to these 40 minutes together. It's a wonderful place for all of our viewers to start. Ben, sleep when you can. Enjoy the ice cream as much as you can. And we look forward to the updated LinkedIn photograph with the jacket.
Yeah.
Harry, it's always great to have you with us. Fantastic session. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you so much, Matt.